Welcome back to the DroneOCan YouTube channel. Mabel is here. I've got an iPad, a cell phone, coffee cup, sunglasses, and a set of keys. And you know what that means? It's time for a road trip. I got a couple reasons that we're doing this trip today, and I'll tell you about them here shortly. Let's get out there and get going. So I'm going to start with the secondary reason, and that is right over here. And that is one of my latest purchases. This is a Southwire 500 watt hour portable battery bank. Now, I want to make it clear this video is not sponsored by Southwire in any way, shape, nor form. I purchased this with my own money, and so it's just a chance to try it out here. And basically, I bought this for two reasons, primarily for road trips and camping, and secondarily because back in January, we had a lot of rolling power failures and things like that when we had a really bad cold snap. And I wanted to have something a little more hefty than some of the portable battery banks that I've been using around home. I wanted something that I can actually plug in, 120 volt AC items to if necessary, and charge multiple devices at once. So that's why I bought this, and we're going to take it out on the road today and see how well it actually is going to work. So for testing purposes, I have my cell phone that you can see is currently at 33%. I have my iPad currently sitting at 80%. And I'm dusting off DroneOCan that hasn't seen the light of day in a long time. So currently there's no battery in it. And my controller is so dead, it won't even power on right now. Now you can see I am cheating with one of DroneOCan's batteries here. I have it on a charger here at home, putting some life into it just so that in a worst case scenario, I will have at least a little bit of flight time. Unless something goes horribly wrong and I can't get charge into the controller. I didn't think that part through that much, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. It's been so long since I had DroneOCan out, I don't even know if I remember how to fly. Just loading the GPS, and screen just went dark there. There's my copy of GSAC going through filtering caches and loading up GPX files to get that GPS ready for the road. And that brings me to reason number one for today's road trip. And that is to check out a series of geocaches hidden between the towns of Beiseker and Acme, Alberta. Now, I'm not going to get to all of them because that's about a 12-kilometer stretch. But Mabel and I are going to head out. I'm going to aim to do about half of them or so, maybe 5 or 6 kilometers out and back. We'll see how we feel, see what the weather's doing. I'm already late in getting out the door here, and it's about an hour's drive to get to Beiseker. So I don't know. We got lots of daylight left, and we'll see how we feel. And now that I actually go to look at the map, I discovered everything I just said is pretty much wrong. The trail of caches goes from Irricana to Beiseker. So that's the route I'm going to be following, not Beiseker to Acme. I thought it was Beiseker to Acme because I had read the trail description on All Trails, and it was talking about that route. So, minor correction, don't feel like re-recording everything. Let's get out there. Okay, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but let's try and get this organized. So I've set the Southwire in the middle of the seat. It's got vents on the sides and the back, so I wanted to make sure there's good airflow there. Since my controller at 0% is one of the most important things, I'm going to plug that into one of the USB ports. And then I am going to push the button to turn on the USB. There it goes. So you can see right now what it's telling me here is USB's on. It's pulling about 9 watts of power. And so if this is all I was charging or running, I would have about 51 hours of runtime. The Southwire's up at 100%. Let's see, what do I have for my next cable? I have what I call my ridiculously long cable for my cell phone. I'm going to plug that in here. Got that going. Now up to 11 watts. 16. And I'm using my extra long cable so that way I can see the phone and use it for navigation up front. Now here is one of my completely dead drone batteries. And I brought along the 12 volt charger. So I'm going to plug that into that charging port there. Another USB cable that I'm going to plug in under here. This is my dual headed cable, so I will use this for charging the camera and microphone while I'm driving. This is the drone battery that still has a little bit of life in it, but I'm going to charge it by plugging it into one of the AC ports. Now I have to turn that on and enable it, just like I forgot to turn on the DC port. And now I don't know if you can hear that, but now that I'm pulling quite a bit of wattage here, the fan kicked on briefly, and now I'm down to 2 hours of runtime. I'm definitely sucking a lot of battery life out of this. I forgot that this brick that charges the drone battery also has 2 USB ports. So I'm going to plug in my iPad, or sorry, this is my cable for charging my GPS. So plug that in there and get that charging. I don't know if you can see that. There's plugging in the USB cable there and plugging in my iPad, which is now charging. So all that charging going on. I don't know how well you can see the display there on the Southwire. Pulling down 153 watts of charging right now. So with that mess of wires in the back, I'm gonna put the camera and the microphone on there and get that charging. Mabel will probably ride shotgun anyway, so she probably will not interfere with this stuff too badly. And let's get out on the road. made it to Irricana, and just going to check to see how everything has done. Camera shows it's at 100%. GPS is not at 100%, but it's got a pretty good charge in it. I'm a little concerned it's not showing me the caches here. iPad made it up to 97%. Drone controller is showing 91%. This is the drone battery that was hooked up to the DC 12 volt. It is showing 100%. And then this is the battery that was hooked up to the AC power, also at 100%. So that's pretty good. And if you look at the Southwire, it's showing 89% of its battery capacity remaining. So that's pretty good. Got most things charged up successfully and only used 11%. Okay, well, I'm glad I have the proper microphone because it's actually pretty breezy out here, so that should cut the wind noise a bit. Just parked here on the edge of downtown Irricana, and I think I found the trailhead over here, and we're gonna get started. So a little challenge to start. For some reason, the GPS did not download the caches, so I don't have them in my real GPS, so I'm gonna have to survive using the phone. And that's not the worst thing. The phone has gotten a lot better for geocaching than it used to be back in the days of like the iPhone 4 and things. And Mabel did her thing here early on in our hike, so I got to take advantage of the garbage can here right next to the Lions campground. Nice looking little campground, especially in the summer when the trees are out. And it's amazing to me, that garbage can is right there, yet in that short distance I've already come across like 4 piles of dog crap. Most of it's probably left over from the winter when people just bury it under the snow and think that'll take care of it. So no matter how big or small your municipality is, it never fails, you will find irresponsible dog owners. Hopefully we don't run into any issues with off-leash dogs out here. I don't know if we'll even run into many people once we get further away from town. Haven't seen anyone yet. Just coming up here on Pioneer Acres Museum, a place we have visited before here on the channel and undoubtedly will visit again one day. There is an active rail line here just off to the left. Maybe we'll get some train action today while we're out. And we made it to the first cache. I don't usually like spoilers, but there's nothing too mysterious about this one. A nice, probably matchstick container or something of that nature here chained to the fence post. So nice easy find to get our day started. So far, the caches, this is going to be number 3, have been pretty easy to find. They've got pretty well-defined geo trails leading right to them now. Doesn't mean I can't slip while going to find it, but I suspect if you were paying really close attention, you could probably spot the locations of these even without a GPS. Indeed, this one, in keeping with the theme, follow the trail, find the cache. This has been a really nice trail so far. These caches, while snow is not a factor today, are hidden in such a way that they would be up above your typical snow line, which is great for when you're caching out here in the winter. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the mountains as much as anybody, and we even have our first bowler camping trip planned for the May long weekend out in the mountains. But sometimes this early in the spring, you really just want to get away from the snow. And I also think there's something about being born and raised on the prairies that means I need to return to this scenery every once in a while, just kind of to get back in touch with it. So I'm just down here along the fence line finding another cache, looking back up at the old rail bed, and just taking a moment to admire the engineering and the construction that went into building this raised rail bed across the prairies. I mean, sure, it's not like the challenges of building a railroad through the mountains and over the Rogers Pass and things like that, but still, just the effort that went into constructing this. I mean, we're quite a distance above the lay of the natural land here. So there was a lot of work that went into this. I'm also not sure why there was this rail line, which is essentially paralleling the other rail line there just off to my left. Was this a CN versus CP thing? I'm pretty sure that line off to my left is part of Canadian National. So I don't know really any of the history of this rail line, and I didn't really take the time to do any research before getting here because, as you know, on DroneOCan.com we pride ourselves on our lack of prior research. So I'm sure one of my rail aficionado friends will fill us in the comments down below. It's too bad that the original railway crossing isn't still here, but the rusting iron of the railings here makes for a nice touch and sort of pays homage to the rails that were once here before. First off-leash dog we've seen, but he's well fenced and in his private yard, so not an issue at all. Now, I don't know if you can see it way down there, but it looks like there's something over the pathway. Perhaps that's where that track that's been paralleling us on the left maybe crosses over this rail line. But I think I'm going to set that as my turnaround point for today. Not because I'm not having a good time and not because I'm tired, but I realized because I brought my photography sling bag with DroneOCan in it and things, I don't have a collapsible water dish for Mabel. I brought her spill-proof bowl in the truck, but nothing here with me. So I don't want to push her too hard and dehydrate her out here with no source of water. So we'll probably cut it short today, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with with leaving something for another day. And yes, I do realize I haven't even put DroneOCan up in the air yet. This section of the trail, as we've gotten further north, has farmyards quite close on both sides. And so I don't want to put the drone up somewhere where somebody might think I've been, or I'm scoping their property or something like that. I know a lot of the adjacent landowners on these rails to trails projects really don't necessarily like the amount of extra foot traffic going past their property, so I don't want to do anything to exacerbate that problem. I don't know if there has been any problems along this stretch, but why take the chance on creating some? Some horses there. They're not too interested in us. Mabel's not interested in them. So we all win. I just want to take a moment and admire that sky. Perfect clouds for photography today. Nice light. It's a little bright, but the clouds add some nice interest to any pictures you may take today. As always, I should have learned to read the cache description ahead of time. I just checked out the cache description, and it does confirm that this rail line was originally Canadian Pacific. Apparently built in 1910 and abandoned at some point in the 1990s. It was turned over to the TransCanada Trail Association in 1999 for purposes of becoming part of the TransCanada Trail, which has since been renamed the Great Trail. And that overpass with what is the Canadian National, probably built by Canadian Northern, is coming into view. Just a very short little bridge there across this rail line. This is an unsupervised recreational trail and used at the personal responsibility and risk of the user. All trail users are required to stop here and wait until the passing train is clear of the overpass. What a great spot for a geocache. This is my turnaround point for today. We've, as you can see there, reached that trestle that we saw off in the distance. So we made it, and just to make sure any naysayers out there that want to complain, you see the barbed wire fence here. You see the no trespassing sign here. I am not trespassing. I am still on the legal side of the fence and on the legal side of the Canadian National right-of-way. I don't know if you can see that mile marker on the telephone pole, but it's mile marker 29 on this Canadian Pacific little subdivision, or whatever it would have officially been called at the time. What a great spot for a cache. And no, I have not seen a train nor heard one yet. And despite the presence of some power lines right there, I think this is as good a spot as any to put the drone up and take a look at things from above. We looked at it pretty good from down here. And showing how rusty I am when it comes to flying the drone, I just realized I didn't bring a cable to connect the iPad to the controller. Great. I can't see what I'm filming, but I'm going to throw the drone up in the air, fly it around a bit, and just see what I happen to capture blindly. Well, I told you I was out of practice, and that proved it. I was just, as you saw there, coming underneath the trestle, and the drone started moving towards the side, and I, out of practice, pushed the stick the wrong way and kind of crashed into the side there instead of just stopping. So I think it's going to be okay. I'm going to take a look here at the damage. So the front left prop broke half of that off, and the front right prop took a pretty good impact too. And then here's where the worst of the damage is, down here on the rear left. You can see that prop is entirely gone, and I can't get it to focus on there, but that motor ended up down in the mud. So that's going to need a little bit of cleaning to see if we can repair that. Other than that, it looks just like the props were damaged. I don't see any. The gimbal still seems to be working. The camera's intact, just a big fingerprint on it. So trying to be responsible, managed to find at least one piece of the prop that fell off, or flew off in this case. Just looking to see if I can find any more, but I don't know where the rest went. They may have just completely disintegrated. So, well, you know, it's not always good times. Sometimes you got to share your idiocy too, and that's exactly what that was. That was just me attempting to fly in some place that was too intricate with being rusty. Had it been back in the days when I was flying the drone on a regular basis, no problem. But I forgot the single most basic rule, and that is when you find yourself getting into trouble, let go of the sticks. The drone will stop. It will hover. Generally, if you're hovering, nothing bad will happen. I forgot. So anyway, we won't know till later whether or not that's the end of DroneOCan. I'll let the mud dry and then clean out that motor and get some new props on the way and see what happens. For those keeping score at home, I believe that is my third drone crash in the 7 years I've owned it. My first crash was at the Atlas coal mine when the drone was just over a little rise and I was flying backwards and ran into a tree. I don't think I ever put that footage online. In fact, I don't even know if I was capturing footage at that time or if I was just repositioning the drone to start my shot. And then the second time was at the Carsland Weir. And again, very similar in nature. I was trying to do a shot along a barbed wire fence and just got too close, caught a prop in the fence, spun it around and crashed. It survived both of those. This one was probably the second highest it was at the time of a crash. So we'll see. I'm not too worried yet. If it is the end of DroneOCan, needless to say, you won't be seeing any drone footage on this channel for a while. Well, I didn't see this on my way in. An old piece of the railing, or of the rail, I should say, not the railing. Old piece of rail here along the side of the tracks. So I haven't really been showing you much here on the way back into Irricana, mainly because I'm walking straight into the sun, so it kind of blows out the footage anyway, and also it's everything that I showed you on the way north. So that's why. So far, keeping track of the traffic that I've seen, there were a couple of ladies heading back into town just as I started on the trail. I got passed by two fellas on e-bikes. There was a child, or a young kid, I guess, riding a bike. And then there was a woman heading north as I've been coming south. So that's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. And just ahead of me, up in the distance, there's 2 more. So that makes 8. They haven't been getting any closer, so they must be going the same direction I am. So considering it's a beautiful Saturday here in the spring, no snow, the temperature was about 14 degrees Celsius when I left the truck. Beautiful day, not that many people out here, so I'm okay with that. I'm gonna check out when we get into town. The Irricana Hotel is undergoing some renovations. Somebody bought it with the plans of renovating it and reopening it. Hasn't been open in a lot of years, so that's excited. Battery in the video camera is almost done, so I'll just put a few stills up here at the end and let you see how the renovations are progressing on that. That's all I've got. Now I'm gonna shut up. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.